Icon Youth, welcome to this month's Connect Notes. I'm Debbie, I'm one of the youth pastors here at Icon Church, and if you're new to Connect, I want to give you a huge welcome. I'm sure you're having a great time in your group today. This month, we're discussing the topic of relationships. And obviously last week was Valentine's Day, so it just makes sense, doesn't it? It's only right that we discuss relationships. And so we're going to look into that today. And you should have already have discussed the questions in your group about what's that one person in your life that you couldn't live without, and what's your favourite or funniest memory with that person. If you've not yet discussed that in your group, press pause on the Connect Notes and discuss them now. One person that I couldn't live without is Nathan and Zion. Okay, I know that's two people, but they kind of come as a package deal. And I couldn't live without two of those people. And my favourite memory of Nathan and Zion was the day that Zion was born. And I've actually got a picture of Zion being held by Nathan for the first time, and he looks like a gremlin. If you've not seen that picture, you want to see it, come and find me. I will show it to you. But me and Nathan don't really do Valentine's Day. We don't really do cards, we don't do presents. We make a bigger deal out of birthdays and other things like that. But what we do believe in is we do believe in celebrating relationships and celebrating people and the people that we love. And it's important to celebrate each other. And that's what Valentine's Day is all about. It's all about celebrating our relationships, celebrating the people that are in our world. And so we're going to look into that today. But when I say the word relationships, what do you think of? I know I used to think of things like boyfriends and girlfriends, relationships, going out on dates, holding hands, kissing. Don't hold hands and kiss. Nathan says that when you hold hands, it makes babies. Don't do that. It's dangerous. But actually, relationships aren't just about boyfriends and girlfriends and dating and those things. It's actually more about the people that we do life with. It's about our family, our parents, our grandparents, our siblings, our cousins, the people that we go to school with, the people that we go to youth with, our friends. It's about even the people that you're sat with right now, the people that you're surrounded with, your Connect group leader, your youth leaders, your pastors, the people you go to church with. There are so many relationships that we have in our life. It's not just about boys and girls and relationships like that. But did you know that God created relationships? God created me and you to be in relationship. He created relationships right at the beginning of the Bible, right in Genesis. And we're going to take a look and read that in a moment. And relationships were God designed. They were God inspired. So why not press pause on your Connect group notes now and just take a look together at Genesis chapter 2, verses 18 to 23. So now that you've all had a look at Genesis chapter 2, verses 18 to 23, I just want to recap by just reading 18 again. And it says, "The Lord God said, 'It is not good for man to be alone. I will make a helper suitable for him.'" God said at the very beginning of time, it is not good for man to be alone. It then goes on to say that they will be together. He created the woman from the man's rib. He created the woman, and that they will become one flesh. In the Message version, it says, the man said, "Finally, bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh, name her woman, for she was made from man. Therefore, a man leaves his father and his mother and embraces his wife, and they become one flesh." Finally, he said. He was craving relationship. I don't know about you, but I think the one thing that human beings are always searching for is relationship. They're craving relationship, craving love and attention and companionship, relationship, company, friendship. We crave those things. And that was the problem right at the beginning of the Bible. God recognized that the first ever problem was isolation. Adam was alone. He had no relationship other than with God. He had no relationship with another human being. He had no companionship. He had no friendship. He had nobody to keep him company. Adam was isolated and craving somebody to fulfill that isolation. And God recognized that problem, and he created woman. He fulfilled the issue of the isolation, and he caused Adam to have relationship. It also says in the Bible, in Ecclesiastes 5, verses 9 to 10, it says, 2 are better than 1 because they have a good return for their labour. If either of them falls down, one can help the other up. But pity anyone who falls and has no one to help them up. We need relationship. We need people. We need friendship. We need that company. We need encouragement. We need people to help us up when we fall down. We need that love. We need affection. We need people to encourage us, build us, spur us on, and do life with us. Just have a think for a second. You don't have to share this in your group, but just think in your own mind for a second. Have you ever felt isolated? Have you ever felt alone in your life? If we're not careful, we can end up isolating ourselves. We can end up making ourselves feel alone, because what we can do sometimes in our lives is we can abandon our constant good relationships for the sake of temporary bad relationships. And we're going to discuss a little bit more about that in this session. But I've got a story that I'd love to share with you. And it was back when I was your age, I made the decision to start a relationship with a guy. And the problem with this guy was at the beginning it was really exciting. It was amazing to start this new relationship. I really liked him, but the problem was I wanted to spend so much time with him. I really liked him. I liked spending time with him. And because I wanted to spend so much time with him, I ended up spending less and less time with my family and friends. My family and friends were good relationships. They were good, positive relationships. They had positive influence in my life. My parents were great models, role models, and wanted the best for me. My friends wanted the best for me and were good for me, good relationships. And I neglected those relationships and spent less and less time in those relationships because I wanted to spend more and more time with this guy. I didn't even know him that well. I didn't even know if he was a good influence yet, because I didn't even know him well enough to know whether that was going to be a good thing in my life or not. And that was a huge mistake, because I very quickly discovered that as this relationship that started off exciting and fun and amazing suddenly became very stale, very negative, very boring. Like, I didn't want to spend time with him anymore, and I was getting fed up with the relationship. And we'd started to grow apart, and I realised that I didn't see any future with him whatsoever. And then I realised that I missed spending time with my friends and family. The relationships that I'd neglected, the relationships that I'd isolated myself from because I'd placed myself and my time with this other guy, I realised that they weren't there anymore, or they weren't as strong anymore. When the relationship ended, I had to work really hard to restore the relationships that I'd neglected with my friends and my family. The ones that I'd distanced myself from, the ones that I'd isolated myself from. I had to work hard to put those relationships back in place, to make them strong again, to make them good again. I realised that that wasn't God's plan for my life. God didn't want me to feel isolated and alone and distant from good relationships, but he wanted me to feel close to good relationships. He wanted me to have good, strong relationships. I realised in that moment that some relationships can be temporary, but some relationships can last a lifetime. And he was a temporary relationship, but my friends and family were permanent, lifelong relationships. I realised that some relationships can be good, positive influences in our lives, like my friends and family. But there are some relationships in our lives that aren't good relationships, that can even be bad relationships and can be poor influences, bad influences, negative influences in our lives. And God doesn't ever want you to feel distant or isolated. He doesn't ever want you to feel alone. He doesn't ever want you to feel like you're stuck in negative relationships or surrounded by negative influences. But he wants you to have good, strong relationships, positive influences in your life, good role models in your life. So it's our job to protect those good relationships in our lives. It's our job to try and protect those good influences, those good relationships in our lives from the negative, bad relationships and influences in our lives. It's our job to protect that. It's our job to make sure that we're putting those relationships first. And that includes our relationship with God. Our relationship with God is the most important, best, good influence and relationship in our lives. And it's our job to protect our relationship with God as well. It's our job to make sure that nothing in this world can separate us from that relationship with God. And God sent his son Jesus to die on the cross for us so that we could have relationship with him, so that we didn't have to feel distant or isolated or separated from him. But there are still things in this world that can cause us to feel separated from God, things that can cause us to feel distant from God. And it's our job to protect that relationship with God and prevent those relationships from causing us to feel distant from God. So in your Connect groups now, I would love for you to just take some time to discuss relationships. There's some questions that your Connect group leader is going to go through, and you're going to discuss what relationships really mean to you in your life. Maybe this discussion will cause you to reevaluate some of the relationships that you have in your world. Maybe even these discussions and these questions are going to cause you to feel like you need to make some changes in the relationships in your world. Maybe there's some negative influences that maybe you need to steer away from. Maybe there's some bad relationships that you need to distance yourself from so that you can be closer to your good relationships, to your positive influences. Maybe you need to make a decision today to spend more time with your family, more time with your friends, more time with your Connect group and the people that you love that are good influences in your life. So, enjoy discussing those questions, and I really hope that today you can really learn the importance of good, positive relationships and how God intended you to have great relationship with him and with others.